Hello everyone. This is Anna 10 Bensel with Developer. I'm a certified cryptocurrency auditor and a certified blockchain developer. Today we're doing something a little bit off of the development side of things, and we are going to be talking about the top 10 help desk issues and solutions. I think this is really important. I started off in IT, and it's also just like good for you to know. And most people just assume it's general knowledge. But if you're someone who's maybe entering or wanting to enter the tech world by help desk work, I think it's a great way to start, and it gets you acclimated to some of the difficulties that can happen within tech, and truly just kind of gets you like a good foot in the door. And also just good to know even if you're not in help desk, how you can find a solution. So IT help desks in large organizations are often really busy places with staffing and budgetary issues that really largely affect the ability to deal with large volumes of help requests, which is a very, very major problem experienced by help desk communities. So by knowing the common issues that your users can be prepared, you can be prepared to put in like strategies to place assistance with the help desk and function in a more streamlined manner. This won't just improve the efficiency of the help desk, but also enable you to achieve higher levels of customer satisfaction. So common help desk IT problems and solutions, like when you've been working with your company's IT help desk long enough, you're going to start to get a feel for the sorts of issues that employees will call up and ask about. You may get different questions to these, and most likely you will, depending on what industry you provide support to. So like, for example, if your employees use like a specialized software that generates a lot of calls, or as like a call center, you're probably going to get more help desk requests geared to that software or those issues. But in general, these are like common help desk problems people can call and get advice on. So one of the bigger ones is when people can't log in, and that's whether they've forgotten their password, they use an expired password, left their caps lock on while trying to type it. For whatever reason, these users can't get into the system until the help desk comes to their rescue. So the solution usually is make sure the employee isn't trying to enter a password with caps lock. Also check to see if the password is expired or if the account is suspended. Then send the employees a password link. Other solutions can be to involve or establish a self-service password reset portal, or adopting like a password management software within your organization. That can also help field a lot of calls coming in, especially for people who can't log in. Another one is they deleted files that they shouldn't have. So in many cases, you'll get a call from someone in a panic wanting to know how to recover a file that they sent to recycling, or the files were in the recycling bin and they've since been emptied. So the solution for this would be to first check to determine to see if the file is in the recycling bin or not. Second, if the recycling bin has been emptied, you may need to reinstate the file for the user from the server backup, assuming that has been backed up. Another one would be if the computer's running too slow. This is mostly a problem that has a simple fix, because the user usually has too many windows or applications running at once, so too much is open, and using too much memory. So the solution would be to access the user's CPU usage to determine if they have too many apps running, especially if they use up a lot of memory. So remove any temporary files from the Windows folder, and with user permission, and then delete any large unused programs that the files and files that are taking up space on their hard disk drive. You can also check that the user doesn't have any viruses or malware on the machine. Viruses and malware can cause a computer to run slower, but for the most part, it's not nearly as common when you actually have a good security system set up. Next is internet outages. So users are unable to connect to the internet or the Wi-Fi for whatever reason, and may require troubleshooting, or may be generally related to a system-wide outage. The solution would be to determine whether or not there's a widespread outage being experienced. If not, work with the user to kind of troubleshoot why they might not be able to connect to the internet. They could just not have the password. It could be a new internet. It could be something with their modem. There's a lot of different solutions for that, but just to kind of troubleshoot with them on why it would not be working. Next, we have problems with printing. The reason behind problems with printing can vary from literally the printer not actually being turned on in the first place, through issues to how their printer settings are configured, to the physical problems with the printer itself, like a paper jam or out of ink. The solution would be to identify the specific issue. So get the user to check the printer and it's showing up for them to print. You may need to add like a specific network printer to their settings. For other issues such as paper jams, talk them through instructions from the manufacturer's website, because they have it literally there, like relevant to that specific machine. And usually, people can get this figured out pretty quickly. So let's say next would be the user lost access to a shared drive. And there's reasons why this could happen, but it generally involves the IT help desk mapping the network connection so the user has their shared drive access reinstated. So the solution would be to ping the server to see that the user is able to connect with it, make sure that they have permission to connect with it, and then when you'll have them remap their network drive so they can access them again. Next would be a computer virus. This isn't a great scenario, and solving this can be kind of complicated, so the machine needs to be isolated from your network immediately so that it does not impact the company more widely. So the solution would be immediately have the user remove their machine from the network, and then the next step would depend on the actual virus that it's on and the machine and what's needed to remove it. Another one is peripherals, or keyboard and mouse aren't working. This is usually a problem that people who have wireless and battery operated keyboards and mice deal with more often than not. So at some point the batteries will die, catching the user unaware. The solution would be to determine if the Bluetooth connection between the mouse and the keyboard and the computer is still established and working. The next step would be to get the user to change the batteries. It seems self-explanatory, but you have no idea how many times I've gotten calls because someone's mouse is not working. It's pretty fun. Next we have the blue screen of death. And the blue screen of death can mean a bunch of different things, but most users will panic. And when they see it, they'll call the help desk right away. But the blue screen of death usually indicates a system crash. And often the issue is caused by either the hardware, one of the computer's drives. So sometimes all it needs is a quick reboot. If that fails, you may need to get the user to disconnect any unnecessary hardware to eliminate external causes. Also, attempt to boot the machine in safe mode. Other solutions include checking the hard drive for bad sectors or installing any necessary updates. Usually that will get rid of the blue screen of death. But let's say the computer just won't start in general. And again, there can be a range of reasons for this, like the computer not even being plugged in, the battery being flat, or the hard drive even being broken. So the solution, I would say, is to get the user through various potential fixes, such as re-ensuring the power cord is plugged in and switched on, making sure the outlet that they're using is viable. The next step will be to get them to perform a reset. If it still isn't working, they may need to deploy someone to kind of investigate it further, or bring the machine in physically. And there's a couple other common IT issues, and some of those, and they're more complicated with their solutions, but cybersecurity, for example, like phishing, poor password hygiene, hackers, and unauthorized access information. And this also includes starting like a cybersecurity awareness email to employees, so you can kind of figure out who would fall into these cybersecurity traps. The solutions for this are a lot more complex. Also, the use of outdated software and equipment that includes like failure to update and patch software, not returning equipment to the appropriate stage of its life cycle, failure to perform other maintenance. Obviously, this is very variable depending on what that is or what the software is. Issues with new technology implementation. So like if you get new computers or new phones on your system, then obviously having to implement them and get them started can cause a lot of issues. Failure to back up important information, that usually gets resulted in like data loss, malfunctions, and that's just, having backups in place. Again, that takes a little bit more troubleshooting to figure out. But basically, the types of problem-solving methods are just trial and error. That's kind of where different solutions are attempted until eventually there's a successful resolution. There's like a difference reduction where large tasks are broken down into smaller steps to determine which step will get you the closest to finding the solution, and kind of a means end analysis where the current situation is compared to the result that you would like, and you identify the most significant differences between both solutions. So I hope that helped kind of explain the differences here in the different kinds of IT problems you might face and the solutions. I want to thank you guys for watching. Greatly appreciate it, and I will see you in the next video.